You're able to see me? See?
Yes, sir.
Now you're able to see
fine.
that?
Yes, fine.
So let me know when to start.
Yeah, I'll start. I'll give an introduction, then we can start, sir. Good afternoon to one and all present here. I welcome our resource person, Mr. KB Rajesh Kumar, CEO, AOE, Infotech Bangalore, for the last session of the 6 days online STTP on cyber criminology and network security. And also I welcome all the participants for today's session. Let me give a brief introduction about our resource person. Rajesh is a young, dynamic and result-driven technology leader making impressive strides in the digital transformation and technology services space for the past decade. He started his entrepreneurship journey in early 2000 and made his entry into a technology vibrant market based on solid experience of 7 years with premier organizations. As a first generation entrepreneur, he has scaled operations from the building block stage, gearing his company as credible global IT service providers, delivering world class standards of service excellence. Abreast with emerging marketing trends, Rajesh is continuously looking to scale new heights in technology that will cater to diverse industrial verticals. As a budding entrepreneur and technocrat, his progress has been closely followed by the industry circles, with the Confederation of Indian Industry conferring on him as chairman of Young Indian for Bangalore chapter, national chairman of Thought Leadership Vertical, South Regional Chapter launch chairman for Young Indians, co-convener of MSME Startup Forum of CII Karnataka and few of its business panel activities. Rajesh's work speaks of his impressive credentials, successful execution of over 500 projects for over 100 plus satisfied clients, representing a diverse industrial vertical, be it sectors like manufacturing, education, agriculture, healthcare, finance, or retail. He has made a terrific impact and most importantly has premier names or client to his credits. Rajesh's success mantra is understanding clients' need from their perspective, educating them from the technology point of view, and delivering service excellence exceeding all parameters with quality and time being of paramount importance. I wholeheartedly welcome you to this session, sir.
Okay, thank you for the brief introduction. Let me start the session, and what I do is like I'll take it the way already I got a quite good introduction, and thanks to the institutes and management team and principal, a lot of staffs part of the interesting subject in the present given conditions and need and demand in the market, uh, and given a specific subject of network security. So by the next 1 hour session, probably give little technical more on a need of it for you to get understand the picture, and you can in between you can stop and ask the questions. So just I'll have a couple of slides to start with it. Uh, See, we have to keep look at what are the brief history of the security as a need in that. So bring the civilization to its knees. If you talk about kotas and bandals or hands and gigs, everybody want to hack. today, even though generation changed, but still the hacking is in the different format. And we started in where, and today we are in a digital world, like how to hack virtually to your data or your informations, or your financial assets. You kill through the digital transformation space. So overview, what I'm going to cover is like what is the security and why do we need a security, and who's vulnerable, and common security attacks and countermeasures. In particular, if you look at the firewall and institution detection systems, denial of service attacks and TCP attacks, and packet sniffing and social problems. So this is what I'm going to cover it today with a little interesting use cases. I given the slide later. The slide I'll share to you guys, to you all. You can keep it for record or for your purpose. See, what is security? If you look at go to the dictionary or any of meanings, it says one is freedom from risk or dangers, safety, and we have a freedom from doubt, anxiety, or fear or confidence. And third is something is that gives or assures safety as one is a group of a department or private guards, that what we call as security, where it's a building security if we have visitor access as suspicious. Second, if you look at like measures adopted by the government to prevent espionage and sabotage or attacks. And third is as any business or a homeowner or prevent a crime such as robberies or assault or security was taxes, etc., smaller plans, various factors. So why do we need a security? One is like protect virtual information, vital information, while still allowing access to those who need it, the trade secrets or medical records and etc. And other portion is like provide authentication and access control for resources, and then guarantee availability of resources. You can look at an example of AFS or reliability, where this comes in this picture. And who's the vulnerable? One is the financial institutions and banks, internet service providers, pharmaceutical companies, government and defense agencies, and contractors to various government agencies, multinational companies or corporates, or anyone in the network. Could be institution, could be a uh, agree, or today the given stage, any portion which we can look at and who are in the network, we're using the network. Right. This is a common security attacks, and their countermeasures is follows in like finding a way into the network, where the firewall protect you to get into your network, and exploiting the software bugs, buffer overflows, where this is what we call as like intrusion detection systems, which we use it to avoid. And third is Daniel services, ingress filtering and IDAs, and so most of you guys know the subject about it. TCP hijacking, where we use for the IPsec to get in, and the other is the packet sniffing. So where we using now solution for encryption, SSL, SSH, or HTTPS for protecting the packet sniffing. Social problems. That's where we need educating on a lot of stuff to getting address to the social problems. So firewalls, when it's come to the firewalls, what is the basic problem we have in it? Many network applications and protocols have a security problems that are fixed over time. So it comes into kind of a difficult for users to keep up the changes and keep the host secure, whatever we do with the data. So example of somebody to try to access Gopal and institutions data or financial records or educational records. Now how you can protect it? So the solution is more like giving a limited administrative access and end the host by using a firewalls, where we put up our firewalls and we'll keep them into make sure is given a specific people to get access, and not every hacker through the internet who can come in and get into our network and store the data. And then firewall to keep up to date to make sure that by the administrator. So we have to make sure that firewalls, it's keep updated the patches on the new kind of hacking attacks to how we can prevent it. Yeah, firewall is been like, it's like kind of castles to drawbridges. The only one point of access into the network, which will not give the multi-access. And we have to make sure this can be a good or bad, identified to before we having access to them inside. Also, we could be kind of, we can use this as a hardware or software and as a firewall. So various agencies, host environment or data centers uses the hardware, and the front layer is a software to be looking at. Example of routers comes with a firewall functionality nowadays. Any router which you buy it, including now home routers also, whatever we buy it, it comes with a firewall. And IP chains appear on Unix systems or Windows or Mac, OS have built-in firewalls now. So then particularly like Windows keep updates, the patches to protect your data for external people to getting in. So there's been a lot of software firewalls that comes in place. So how it works? So you have through the internet, the people getting, which you have a network internet, which is you share with your for your various purpose, allowing the people to access your data, or you access the data from the internet through your intranet, like a college, like a principal, to each department. HODs have their own specific workspace, but they use a common data. But certain things which they exchange through the internet. So the firewall and the web server and the email servers and web proxies and etc. to protect, you need to get protected through software firewalls or in a hardware firewalls. Both get balanced equally. So it's a firewall is like 1 minute. Sorry. So we need to kind of use, like how the firewalls works, like kind of use to filter packets to based on the combination of features. It's called packet filtering firewalls. There are a couple of other types, but they'll not be as good as, like example of drop packets with the destination, which is allows to the port to get open. Give me a second. And different ports with the telnet being used, and how we can use the combination of IPs or UDP or TCP header informations and bring them to the kind of Unix for more details to get protected in. Why don't we just turn the telnet off? Yes, we can. You can switch off the telnet, but the other data will not get shared. So when we're looking at it, like how the Windows or default file, TCP IPs we get open, like when we go into the Windows installation, looks like 135 or 139 TCP open. This is some of the protocols which I mentioned here for you to get a little more on a technical in detail, which you can try it out later stage if the students are attending here. And might need be some of the services or might not be able to control the machines on the network when the example of Windows which use the firewall data here. So what does this firewall rule looks like? It's all been dependent on the firewall, how you use this. Example, like when you're using to how to add deny with the particular, if you look at like a cracker.evil.org to wolf. This is all the kind of reference hackers who try to get in the vulnerability to our network, but the Windows OS is how it will protect. Like other examples like XP or Microsoft, Apple Mac OS have a built-in third-party firewalls, like in a different graphical user interfaces, which they keep monitoring it, and it gives the intimate, hey, this vulnerability is available here, and how to protect, and it is begin warning you to make sure is to turn off certain alerts to what to do and what to protect or disable in your your OS. So where we call is kind of a institution detection. There's other way of like how we look at like use the monitor for suspicious activities, as I mentioned in the last slide. Can protect against known software which will buy it or expose it like a buffer and overflow, which will keep monitoring it, making your system to be overloaded, making either even though you have a huge space or huge memory in that, but if you look at suddenly your system is getting slower by external malwares to get in and taking most of the memories from your system. So there is, where it's been given you the one small open source tools to look at it, like IDS, which most of them is uses here. This calls not like you can visit the site called snot.org to get to understand this more what are the open source IDS. And uses instruction signatures. There is a lot of well-known patterns and behaviors are available, like a ping sweeps or port scanning, or web server indexing, or voice fingerprinting, and command attempts, or DOS attempts, like we call it today's command prompt attempts. Like is the example, like how you can look at like IRIX vulnerability in the particular your root path file which is being get injected in. And you can also look at how to make rule to drop bucket container, the line, how to can avoid that, which you can protect with the password conditions. But whatever is, however, IDS is only useful into the if contingency plans are in a place to curb the attacks as they are occurring, which we need to get updated and plan in a place. We call like others minor detour, say we got etc password file from that particular server. What we can do with it? So we need to see that it is either we need that to prevent the attacks or accessibilities. So that's because kind of a dictionary attack. Basically, it's we can run a dictionary attack on the password protected conditions to prevent it. Okay. The password we can look at it like the command prompt, how this password, and encrypt the specific container and use the functional one-way hash to not make sure it's revert back it, and also can take the specific word encrypted and compare with the passwords, then it's we need to allow them to do it. This is why the password should be always the meaningless random chunk. Now, if you look when you particularly use the Mac systems, themselves they create and give a secure password for you to use it, which can randomly it will automatically take. Then second option will ask you want yourself you can type a password, or they suggest a password. So there's other is like very important areas at Daniel of services, which is purpose is to make a network service unusable usually by overloading the server or a network. So the last two slides back, as I mentioned it, the usage internally the less, but you see it when you monitoring it, it look like it is being overloaded. There where you see the slowness or the misbehavior of the data comes. To prevent that is where is it we use the Daniel of services. there is a lot of many different kind of DOS attacks has been available. One is SIM flooding and Smurf and distributed attacks and many. I just kind of many case study, code read. You can look at various aspect of. Excuse me.
అదే మళ్ళీ ఎందుకు ఏమి తెలియ పోయినా అడగతాడు చూడలే కదా దివ్యాన్ని వార్నింగ్ ఇచ్చినారు వార్నింగ్ ఇచ్చారు
So when it says SYN including attack, and it said this, excuse me, sir, there is some disturbance. Okay, and so SYN including attack is basically send us a packet with the source address and where we look at why we need to. Can I continue? So the server responded with the SYN ACK, and keep the state about the TCP half open connection to eventually which look at the server memory to exhaust it when with this state. So where we want to use it and how we can use Daniel services to come to specifically to use the network in specific. Then we have a call, SYN flooding attack. Send SYN packet with the bug source address and why we need to look at that. Specifically look at it's not making you to allow them to get in and take the door. That is we addressing through the source address itself, specific to the where which port and and when we have it, there's no response time. Then we'll send back to that. And server response also with SYN ACK and keep the state about the TCP half open connection. Eventually, the server memory is exhausted with this state, but it's not allow and it's bring back. The solution of it is use of SYN cookies. Specifically in response to the SYN, create a special cookie for the connection and forget everything else, which is the cookie will manage it. Then you can recreate the forgotten information when the acknowledgement comes in a form of legitimate connection, which you can acknowledge it. So otherwise, it will not allow you to get in. So this will be simple, can't always we feel it like it's my system is hanging or my system is buffering or there is a pop-up comes in and there is a data misbehaving it's in any individual home too we have these issues, not only the or somebody is walking, take my data and goes in. So the network security is very important to protect them. If we are not keeping ourselves up to date with hardware and software firewalls. SMUP is basically is a source IP address of a broadcasting in ping is then large number of machines responds back to the victims and overloading it. That's where we can keep the systems in the network to get the better performance in the place. So in the typical scenario, how it works, you can see this victim comes in and we call spoof source address of victim to send the IP broadcast addresses and see that how we can protect the individual system on through the internet. So it's a distributed Daniel services and same techniques as regular DOS, but on the much larger scale. Example of sub server where you call it Trojan and IRC boots and infect a large number of machines with zombie programs. Zombie programs logs into your IRC channel and makes a command. Example of what command is they'll ping this IP, they get in. The result what will happen is they run the particular exe file, the execution file into your IP, given IP into your memory. It sends it all that host data and use the data usage and bring more on the bed, get that all the data in the place. But that's just a given a reference also for you all to go through that, get to understand a little more. I couple of slides I kept a reference point which you can refer later. So it's been interested to know more about in the subject of vulnerability on a network security space. You can look at the distributed dynamic services, same techniques as regular as but much larger scale. Example of sub 7 server Trojan. 1 minute. So this is what we call as kind of other one is mini case study code is usually over 3 lakh plus computers infected with the code red in less than 14 hours. It's hacked all the systems and infected it. And used a recently known buffer exploit in a Microsoft IIS server, which they pushed it. The damage, it has been estimated excess of 2.6 billion into different format. Is a banking, institutional, personal. So various organizations, various sectors got impacted by code red. So why is under the denial of a service category comes into code red is it's launched as a DDoS attack against the US governments from the 20th to 28th of every month to make sure it's keep updated and spend the rest of time it's infecting other hosts. They keep getting the hosts around the space. And how we can protect ourselves. So ingress filtering, make sure if the IC the source IP of packet comes into an interface which does not have a route to the packet, then drop it. The reference up to we have a lot of references around the space of our. Then stay on top of the CERT advisories and latest security patches, and as also fixed for the Microsoft IIS buffer overflow, which was being released in 16 days before the code red had been deployed. Is keep continuing the same space of it. And TCP attacks. So how the IP works, recall IP works. The end host create IP packet and the routers process then purely based on the destination address alone, which will keep you to be get authentic and unique. The problem is end host may lie about I'll tell other fields which is do not affect delivery, but it is a source address. Many hosts may trick destination into believe that the packet is from a trusted source. If you look at the space, especially applications which use the IP address as a simple authentication method. But solution use better authentication methods to prevent rather than just you given a generic. Then TCP connection come and have a associated state, starting a sequence of numbers, port numbers. The problem, what if the attackers learn these values? Port number or something which well known to begin with. How you can create a ports which is not known the external person and use a sequence of numbers and sometimes choose is the very predictable ways to prevent. It's help us to avoid the TCP attacks. If an attacker learn the associated TCP state for the connection, where they move, then the connection can be hijacked easily. So even also like the attacker can insert a specific behavioral data into the TCP stream, and it will make that recipient will believe it came from the original source. Example of instead of downloading and running a new program, you download a virus and execute it. That's what will go to happen. So just been put a small one like say hello to Alice, Bob, and speak. You can look at it between you can see that Alice the Bob and have a Bob have established a TCP connection. Then Mr. Big else lies on the path is between Alice and Bob on the network. He can interrupt all of their packets. What happens today, where we see the various social and hacking methods through the network which you can get it. First, how you need to do it. So big ears must drop all allies packets since they must not be delivered to Bobby Y. So we sending the packets and it want to the space to going to him. Then Mr. Big Air send his malicious packet with the next ISN snip from that network back to allies. So TCP attacks is what if Big Ears is unable to snip the packets between the allies and Bob, can just do the DOS allies instead of dropping her packets. It also can just send the guesses of what is the ISN is until it is accepted it. So to get protect. So how do you know that when the ISN is accepted? So example of like a mintnik payload while we're doing it and add a self to do host, or you can do the extend and the display to him to make sure this is we picking the right data. So why are this kind of TCP attacks so dangerous? So where has been put across the web server, miscellaneous users, and trusting web client. Very important. Okay, I characterized this, three different the users and hackers and the web servers. So how we do prevent? So we have where we now call as IPsec, provided source authentication. So most big ears cannot pretend to be lies and encrypts data before you transport. So Mr. Big Ears cannot talk to Bob without knowing what the session key is. So where we sending the encrypted values. So how it's like you do like for your enjoyment, just have been given kind of small stuffs to be get unrelated to the lecturer or to do this. It's one of small fun way of the slide which we got it, and you can look at it. Don't give before NS review on time. Wait until an employee screws up something big, then punch. So I forgot and unplugged the demo unit and it burned down to our customer's headquarters. So do you have a minute? So this kind of the cartoons which is I picked it related to the present network security in slides to have a fun moment of putting some 2-3 slides. So next is the packet snipping. How would this look? Recall how the Ethernet works. when someone wants to send the packets to someone else, they put the bits on the wire with the destination of MAC address. And remember that the other hosts are listening on the wire to detect the collisions. It's where we can prevent or we can put up our security in a much better way. It couldn't get any easier to figure out what data is being transmitted over the network where we do the encrypted and collisions and stuff to the MAC address. This not only works in this physical network or through the internet, also works through the wireless too. In fact, it works for any broadcast-based medium, and could be a mobile and could be a you look at various video communication on mobile, and it would be. Whereas now 5G, we keep looking at it. How secure is it? Even protecting the data of So what are the kind of data we get through the packet sniffing? Asked the other way of what kind of information would be the most useful to a business users. The answer what we do is anything is mean plain text password are the most popular one to use it. How we can protect ourselves? Where we use the SSH, not a telenet. So many people at CMU still use the telenet and send their passwords in the clear, way. But now that I have told you this, don't exploit this information. And packet sniffing is, by the way, encrypted by the computing services nowadays. And where is it to, HTTP over SSL, especially when making purchases with the credit cards. And SFTP, not FTP. Why? So unless you really don't care about the password or data, you can also use FTP to download from Andrew. This is where we use it more. People are saying SFTP use more than FTP. Then we use the IPsec provided network layer confidentiality to use the IPsec. The social problems, the people can be used as dangerous as unprotected computer systems. So also people can be lied to, the manipulated or bribed or threatened or harmed or tortured or etc. to give up valuable information, the credit card, your personal information, your more private data. It could be images or videos. So, but it's been used in a different purpose now, and so most human will be breakdown once it happens, once they are at harmed the stage, unless you specially trained and to make sure you data are kept secure. So think the government here, what they can do with it. For example, so for an example way is, hey, I am at your ANTP representative, I am stuck on a pole, I need you to punch a bunch of buttons for me. And someone even calls you in the middle of the night. Have you been calling encrypted for the last 6 hours? No. Then you answer no. Then they'll tell, well, we have a call that's actually active right now in your calling card. So we're making you to, giving some information, make you to give your, card number, and which is can get hacked. You're directly into your financial ecosystems. That way is like, who saw your office space, then giving you different reasons. The movie just in between, you get suspicious or unknown calls or messages or pop-ups, and now it's doing WhatsApps to get your data, and from there they'll get access into you when they have the simple data from your side. The social problems is multiple instances we look at it. Just been I kept couple of things into more in a financial data here to get into your relevant data. There is always a solution to these problems now. So human will continue to be tricked into giving out information they shouldn't supposed to, and educate them. Many help in a little here, but depend on how bad you want the information. There are a lot bad things you can do it with the. Whereas now you see even the kids child abuse to using a social media in any forms, which we need to get prevented to that all that attacks. So what has been conclusion as to I want to do here is that today the internet works only because we implement trust one another. It is very easy to exploit this trust. The same holds true for a software, and it is important to stay top the latest CRT security advisories and known how to patch the security holes across, where equally it's a country to country cyber war or into prevent financial ecosystem to cyber war, where we hold now stopping the hardware products which has been used in a lot of different form of data sharing. Example of India buy a hardware which is used to connecting the electrical ecosystem. Basically, it is monitoring, it will pick the data, but that can be used to shut the particular power plant anywhere. So now the government of India has been decided not to buy such a hardwares from China, because China can exploit through the particular hardware into a not the financial ecosystem or the government or a defense. It is also now into the power infrastructure, your day-to-day living. Today we buy a computer, we buy a TV, cheaper TV from China, but government says certain standards need to be measured, which the hardware which used to assemble the TV. That TV is being connected to your network. The hacker can able to access through the network into your TV and look at your specific data which you watch in the TV. Then he can able to analyze and unencrypt your personal data to get access into your health or could your financial or your personal data. So the great example to in recent time of 2 years back, we had the voice recognition systems been introduced, Google Home or Alexa. So Amazon used Alexa to do a marketing analysis of the data. So there is the funny way, there is a argument in a family between the husband and wife when the Alexa was kept on. Wife tells like, no, I don't want to live with you, I divorce you tomorrow, I'll send you legal notice, I'll divorce you. So the Alexa hear this data, it is share the data to their buyer. So there is a third party people who want to promote their product and services through Amazon. So Amazon gives the specific, listen the specific data, he'll pass the specific user information to the specific vendor who want to provide the services for them to get access to me. So there is a next day call and email there with separately for the husband and wife. Here you learn that there is a dispute between you and your wife. We will help you to get divorced. This is our process. This is our charges. The husband got surprised how we are able to, this information able to, this one small argument has been gone into that specific. Then they got into a fought each other. Then they identified it is when they were arguing that Alexa was kept on. See, why I'm giving this example is here. So the networks can be used in any forms to access your informations. So that they showed that the Amazon has paid millions to get out, and now the privacy kept, in a place now you cannot even listen it. It's a funny way of the example of what has been, with the security, network security, important for us, and also the people use it for the, accessing the data into specific. Now, looking at the network security, you have one is your hardware, the other is your software. And today, when you write a software, you have to make sure your cyber security testing is now being done as a new services. Wherever there is a transaction based on the, could be a content, it could be a process, or it could be a financial data, where the most use the cybersecurity vulnerability, intranet and internet testing. Top of this all to make sure your software is being trustable to use it, or web platform is trustable to use it. Which is not like one time which we need to do it. We have to keep doing constantly to make sure your environment is safer in the present given network platforms. So as I said, just like I know our time, I didn't go in deep in a technique. Just highlighted the layers and given a few examples. I tried to do something on it, orienting with the Indian stuff, but I couldn't able to really bring up the associated problems and solution areas in a local, usage. So I just had picked a couple of slides which has been used as examples in a Western world, in particularly US. So you can look at all the sites which you can get a little more exposed or get a more insights on how the network security being used, and different kind of solutions, different kind of problems, and how to prevent this and how to make sure our environment is kept more secure. These are all been known web resources which you can learn more about security and cybersecurity and network security in space. It's all about it. And so, if there is any questions, I can have a next 30 minutes where we make it more interactive.
Dear participants, if you have any queries, any questions you want to ask, you can unmute yourself and put a query on in front of us. You can unmute yourself. Participants, you can unmute yourself. You have the option. You can do it. Just check. Now you check. Yes. Yeah. Fine. Sir?
Yes.
Someone has posted a query, like for settings not in our network, do we need any professional guidance or I can simply implement it on my own?
We require a professional guidelines, and there is a third party, there is a service providers who comes and assess your entire network and guide you what is the prevent how you do ISO certification. Similarly, now we have cyber security certifications which they uh, review the system and they'll consult you.
So one more question. What is the current research sub area? 1 second, just hold on, sir. It went. Yeah, it's right. What is the current research sub area under network security?
See, it is all the vulnerability security is that one of the key things which now everybody is looking at it. And if you look, people look at it as kind of examples. Security operation centers, they call us kind of on audits, ISO, PCA, DSS, GDPR, and in particularly vulnerability access and prevent testing is required for your web applications and network applications and mobile application, all the three which the people now looking at it. And now the advisory is doing a lot of things. So a lot of them is now the consultants or people doing it. OSCP and OSWP and OSCE and LPT. This is all the certification which the people use it now within which is basically to assess the vulnerability assessment and penetration testing, which what the people do it now. So example of like for a network, in specifically in look at like WebApp identifies the vulnerable and components. This is includes your host, network devices, like routers and etc. in your network, which is a very critical infrastructure, and also be like intellectual property and data. It will get compromised. So very important for the network space in this.
Sir, one more question from participant side. It is like this. Can you tell me about ISO 27001 certification? How can we do it?
Sorry, I am not have that in-depth knowledge on the 2007 certification process.
Okay. As of now, that many questions are there, sir. We'll wait for a few more minutes.
Okay. So if you look very, if you lot of auditing and been done in this. One is that your ISO, other one is the PCA and DSS. This is basically for your payment card industry and the data security standards, which they look at the certifications. And the other one is called GDPR, GDPR, which is basically used for your general data regulation, protection regulations, called as a GDPR. This three is used more on auditing purpose. A lot of companies has been like the bigger organization or smaller, specifically only the security, testing organization or testing and certification organization uses more like most of them now in the space, like do the security operations center monitoring. They do log and analyze your network and application activities in real time, and using the ways they use the various softwares and tools to do that. Then they'll come up kind of do the virtual security guard kind of. You don't require to appoint an internal team. You look at this guys remotely, virtually they monitor and to make sure your environment is secure for the data. So any other questions? So I can look at that window which somebody types. How would machine? Yes, I'm able to see that like. Would machine lean 6 in network security is upcoming? Yes. Yes, Ravi, this is the upcoming. There's a lot of things that happen in this week. Any other questions?
Dear participants,
Hello.
any more question need to ask? Sir, I think no more questions from participant side.
Okay. So that I can log off?
Sir,
Can I log off then? If it is there is no questions or there is
yeah.
let me know
Okay.
if not to know any specific information. Otherwise, I'm done with it.
Okay, sir. Just 2 minutes. Give 2 minutes for us. Then we will wind up this session and we'll move on to validatory function. Thank you, sir, for being with us and giving a brief introduction and the explanation about what a security is, what's the need of having a security, what are the types of vulnerabilities will be there, and what are the types of common types of attacks will be there, along with a deep knowledge about the firewalls, the firewall configuration that will provide, that will enhance the security. Thank you for giving us a wonderful session about the network security, sir. And on behalf of Gopalan College of Engineering and Management, I heartily thank you for this informative session.
Okay. Thank you. With pleasure.
Dear participants, shortly we are going to start the validatory function. Just hold on for 10 minutes. We'll start the validation function shortly. Hello, Principal sir. Sir. Principal sir.